Welcome to Leo's English Lounge.
Hi, everyone. Today we're talking about something really fascinating and honestly, a little bit scary. It's an old experiment, but it might just tell us something about our own future.
Exactly. We're going to explore this one big question. What happens when a perfect world, a paradise, turns into a kind of prison? It sounds like something from a movie, doesn't it?
It really does. But this actually happened. Well, for some mice, at least.
So, let's set the scene. Back in the 1960s, a scientist named John Calhoun created this special place for mice. He called it Universe 25.
Universe 25. It sounds so official. So what was it like?
Well, for the mice, it was heaven. They had all the food and water they could ever want. And there were no cats, no traps, no dangers at all. It was designed to be a perfect world for them.
And the whole story of this mouse world happened in 4 clear stages. It's like watching a whole civilization rise and fall. It started with hope and ended in a really tragic way.
Yep. Let's walk through what happened step by step.
So, at first, everything was great. In the first phase, the mice got used to their new home. Then, in the second phase, the population just
doubling every 55 days. That's incredibly fast. It seemed like the experiment was a huge success. Paradise was working.
But then, things took a dark turn. Even though they had everything they needed to live, the mouse society started to break down.
And the scientist, Calhoun, he gave this a special name. He called it a behavioral sink.
A behavioral sink? What does that mean?
It's a way to describe the collapse of social behavior. You know, how animals act with each other? Even in a perfect place with no lack of food, their society just sank.
And it was really shocking to see. The mothers, who were usually very caring, started to attack their own babies or just leave them.
And the males? They just completely checked out. They stopped trying to find mates. They stopped interacting with anyone. They just withdrew into themselves.
And then, this really strange group of mice appeared. Calhoun called them the beautiful ones.
The beautiful ones? Why that name?
Because they were physically perfect. Their fur was clean, they were healthy. But all they did was eat, sleep, and groom themselves. They didn't get involved in society at all. It's like their bodies were alive, but their spirits, their social instincts were gone.
And all of this social chaos led to this number: 0.
Wow. So, no more babies?
Not a single one. The last generation of mice just didn't know how to reproduce. They never learned the social skills. The birth rate dropped to 0, and the whole population, the entire universe, just died out.
It's such a sad and strange story. But here's the really important part. This isn't just a story about mice.
Right. The reason we're still talking about this experiment today is because some of the things that happen in that mouse world, well, they might look a little familiar.
Let's look at the comparison. In Universe 25, we saw social withdrawal. In our modern world, we're seeing rising rates of loneliness. It's a huge issue. The mice lost their social roles, being a parent, being a protector. And today, many people feel a sense of alienation, like they don't have a clear purpose or role in society.
And what about the beautiful ones? The mice who only cared for themselves. Does that remind you of anything?
It definitely makes me think about extreme individualism, where the focus is all on me, me, me.
And finally, the most direct link. The mice stopped reproducing. And what are we seeing all around the world? Declining global birth rates. The parallels are pretty startling.
Now, when people talk about why birth rates are falling, they usually say one thing. It's too expensive to have kids. The economy is the problem. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the problem isn't a lack of money, just like it wasn't a lack of food for the mice?
Yeah, look at this chart. It really makes you think. New York City is a very expensive place to live. Lots of economic pressure, but its fertility rate is 1.5.
Now look at countries with high incomes like Japan and South Korea. Their rates are even lower. South Korea's is down to 0.7. That's incredibly low. So more money doesn't automatically mean more babies. Something else is happening.
And this is what the scientist Calhoun believed. He said the first death is a death of the spirit.
What does that mean, a death of the spirit?
He meant the problem wasn't physical. The mice weren't hungry or sick. They died because their society lost its meaning. The behaviors that held them together just disappeared.
So the real poison in this paradise wasn't a lack of stuff. It was too much social contact, but without any meaning. Exactly. Imagine being in a really crowded room, but you don't have a job to do, you don't have a role, You're just there. For the mice, the stress of that kind of existence became too much to handle. And this idea of social pressure is so powerful. There's another famous experiment, the Ash experiment, that shows this.
Oh yeah, I know this one. They put one real person in a room with a bunch of actors.
Right. And they showed them a very simple test. Which line is the same length as the first line? The answer is obvious, but all the actors would choose the wrong line.
And what happened?
An incredible 75% of the real subjects agreed with the wrong answer at least once. They went against what their own eyes were telling them, just to fit in with the group. That's social pressure.
And that brings us back to the big idea. Social roles are like a map for our lives. Being a parent, a friend, a teacher, a worker, these things give us a sense of direction and meaning.
And when that map disappears, like it did for the mice in Universe 25, it's very easy to get lost.
So this leads to the big, difficult question for us. We've built a world with so much comfort, so much abundance. Many of the old traditional roles have changed or disappeared.
So, have we accidentally created our own paradise trap? A world that's so comfortable on the outside but might be trapping our spirits on the inside?
Which leaves us with this final really deep thought. If our society is the home we build for ourselves, a home that feels more crowded but maybe less connected and less meaningful, are the souls, so to speak, still willing to come?
That's a powerful question. All right, that was a lot to think about. Now, as we always do, we have a couple of questions for you. Leo, you go first.
Okay, my question is, what is one social role in your life that gives you a strong sense of purpose? For me, I think being a host on this show is one. It gives me a reason to connect with people and share ideas, and I find that very meaningful.
That's a great answer. My question is, do you think our modern world, with all its technology and social media, is making us more like the beautiful ones, more focused on ourselves? I think sometimes it does. It's so easy to get caught up in our own online world and forget about the community around us. But I also think technology can connect us, so it's complicated.
We'd love to hear what you think. You can leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to check the comments for a list of tough TOEFL and TOEIC words from today's discussion.
Thank you so much for listening to Leo's English Lounge. We'll see you next time.